guys, okay, how you all doing? Just wondering what to do next project wise, and I thought, well, I could start my winter project, but it's not winter yet, it's only June. So I thought I would have a go at a model I started stripping off a little while ago. Let me turn you around. That one there, a Fokker D7. I stripped all the solar film off when I got it at the start of the year. It was rough anyway, but it was dark green and very shiny. But it's a Fokker D7. It's missing the undercarriage, and I don't know what else it was missing now. I can't remember, but I'm going to get it down and start having a look at it and start how far I'm going to get. I'm not sure, but just start tinkering with it. Do you know what I mean? And we'll see how far we get. But I thought it was worth putting together anyway, because I haven't got a D7, and these here, look, what you can see underneath, this is all glue. It's all the way down. Someone's used rather a lot of white glue there, and it's all run down. I mean, have you ever seen anything like that? I haven't. That's just amazing. So all the radar gear's just been ripped out. They were knifed out. Look at that, really crudely. Yeah, it needs a bit of tidying. So I'll take the wings off. I've got to somehow remove the tailplane, which is very well stuck in place. I might end up breaking that, but I'd love to know what plan it was built from, but nothing lines up very well. I mean, everything is a little bit out of, lining up. Everything's, that's not flush at all. Look, in fact, I don't even think the wing lines up very well. Yeah, it's all a bit of a mess, really. It's quite old, I think. So I'm going to take the wing off and we'll see what we got. But I think it could come up really nicely. I think it could, if I look at my triplane, if I was to do it the same colour scheme, I think it would look rather stunning. So it's looking a little bit poorly, but it could look a lot better. So let's have a look at it. I mean, we all like any sort of Fokker is a beautiful looking machine. Oh, the other thing missing is the outer struts, which look like they fitted with nuts onto these bolts. It's not a big model. I'll leave it fully assembled, but I've hung it and I've stuck it together with masking tape. So let's just get all this off. I'm not even sure that these are all level. It could be pulling the wing out of shape. Anyway, that's the top wing. But it's sitting down on that side, and there's still a 4mm gap this side. The elevator's got a joiner on it. Nice old heavy piece of wire, which is actually pretty much on the surface. But again, the leading edge has been cut right back to allow it to drop down, and at that angle it can drop down at that angle there, which I think is more than you need. But the tailplane is stuck good and proper. If I'm going to have to get that off, that's going to have to probably be broken off to get that off. What's happening at the front here a minute? This is all very Nasty, isn't it? Nasty. It's been sawn off to produce a cowl. Has it been sawn square? Seen worse. And that is just screwed in. The plate this side has been bashed out. The screws removed. Yeah, so there it is. The joints are so bad. I'm tempted just to stick a piece of balsa right over that to make it lovely and smooth. Look at that. That crossbar is sticking out about 2 mil. Yeah, loads of glue on the joints. I don't like to see floors in like that. I'm going to take that out and make a bit of a cockpit out of it. Okay, there we are. That's my evaluation of this project. It's going to need a fair amount of work. I could start on the fuselage. I might end up putting some tubes in there for these dowels to go into. There's about 3/8, 10 mil of light ply there. But something needs to be done to get that to sit in there nicely and go flat. And then yeah, I'll bolt the wings on. There's blind nuts in there. I can bolt the wings on because they're going to be staying on. I wasn't happy with the front wires on the cabane. They just were under so much strain to get them in the holes properly, so I've cut them, shortened them and joined them again with copper tube. In fact, I replaced this part because it was a bit bent, so now they all sit in quite nicely, so I'm happy with that. What I'm doing now is sort of studying the plane. Things are a little bit out of true. Before I could set the bottom wing up, just screwing the bottom wing in, it was coming this way and that way. So to straighten it up, I've had to replace, well, I've left the dowels in the front, but I've drilled out the holes they slot into, and I've lined them with a piece of carbon tube. And having screwed the wing back on now, it moves around, but I can set it precisely and epoxy those carbon tubes in place. So now everything is going to line up as it should. It was a little bit out, you could see it was out by eye, but get things square and everything else should line up. You can't start working on something which isn't square and expect things to fit. So I've got the carbon tubes in, they're not epoxied, so now I'm going to epoxy them from the inside because there's a bit of air around them, and then when they're set I'll take the wing off and run the epoxy around the bit I can see. But this is actually set into a bit of 3 laminations of 1/8 ply, so there's a chunk of ply that needs sanding flat. It's sticking out a bit. I've also sanded the fuselage flat all the way down. Some of the uprights were sticking out past true. In actual fact, oh, I've taken the tailplane off as well. I managed to sort of hacksaw it through, and I might be able to reuse that, or I might cut out the triangle and replace it. We'll see. But I can come up a little bit higher as well because it's set back a little bit, so it can come up a little bit. So that wasn't too bad. Yeah, so now I'm just working on that bit there. The wing itself is reasonably square and flat, which is good. So yeah, there we are. I'm going to mix up some epoxy and I'm going to go in from the top. I can just get in there enough to hold that in place. The four outer strut positions I've removed and glued back in because they were wonky. I've yet to remove the servo mount because I want to bring these servo control horns out the bottom, not out the top of the wing. So I'm going to whip those out in a minute. This area here, the ribs were not stuck down properly. They weren't stuck well, the whole lot was about 1/8 of an inch out. So I've debonded the trailing edge here, pardon me, with a knife. Actually, it was this side. With a knife, took all these bonds apart and up there, and got them all down sitting flush onto the trailing edge. Some wings ribs, beg pardon, I've repaired. Like here, I've had to repair it because the servo top was in their cover, so they've been repaired. Same with the opposite side. Oh yeah, the aileron. This one tapered down too far, and the aileron was a lousy fit, and now it's pretty much flush all the way up instead of dipping down about 1/16 of an inch. So I've made this up, tapered actually. These ribs were also too low, so they've been brought back up. They were artificially too low. Some previous builder, sanded them too much, so these have all been brought back up, so that fits nicely now. And the same with this side to a lesser extent. I've put gussets in these corners. This is original, but put one here because this joint was broken on both sides. Yeah, as I say, I'm going to move the servo position in the same place, but I'm going to bring the tray up to the top so the servo can hang down underneath. Talking of ailerons, the aluminium control horns which are in here, they're great big holes in them. I've removed those and glued a piece of wood in so I can put another control horn going down the way. So they're a lot better than they were now. So the top wing just needs sanding, and I noticed that this green solar film backing really clogs up the sanding disc, sanding block really badly. So oh yeah, some ribs, just looking at some ribs, they were low short of a leading edge, so I've had to bring them up. All I do is glue on a bit of H square with CA, and then just carve most of it out and then sand it against the other ribs using a piece of masking tape on the ribs I don't want to sand to prevent them being sanded. But all this takes time, and I think it's worth doing, definitely. The wing is a lot stronger for it now, a lot truer, and all I need to do now is to give it a good old sanding, and then I can replace, once I've covered, so I've got the bolts to put in. It's not going to be terribly easy to cover it because the bolts stick up, but that's what I'm going to have to do. At least I can put the doculum on and then put the bolts back in, so at least one thing's easier to do. The plan I've downloaded from AutoZone. It's a David Boddington plan. I've noticed actually that a previous builder hasn't done the wingtips as per the plan. The original wingtips are about this shape, but they are sheeted with gussets going down. I may as well leave these on. It's gone to a lot of effort, so I'll probably leave these tips in place. But all that's left to do now is just to move these servo trays up to the top and give it a good sanding all over, and that'll be the top wing done. The bottom wing, I'll let in a piece of wood here. I've cut these down a bit because they go in the slot easier if they're not that long. The ribs themselves are reasonable. They line up pretty much with the leading edge, and the trailing edge is pretty flat. There is a undercarriage leg, rear undercarriage support, which is down at a silly angle here. It's flush at the back, but it drops down this side about 1/16. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do there. If I can get this out, I could put a thicker piece of ply in just to take out that play. I probably can get it out actually. This glue is actually a little bit spongy, and you can work your blade in and get it apart. Yeah, I think I'm going to have a go at getting that out actually. Oh, the other thing I've done on both wings is all those little pools of glue. I've managed to cut each one out one by one, across or in the corners, bringing them all out and then carefully taking off the blob of hardened glue. That's the progress so far. One thing I haven't done, that's the wings. One thing I haven't done yet, and that's on the fuselage. I wanted to download the plan to see what amount of offset the motor needs. It's got a little bit of down thrust showing, and this is probably more than what's the plan showing. That's quite a lot. If you can see that, you probably can on the camera. I've still got to replace these bits of ply which came out. So this is a small ply box which is let into the F1. I'm not sure how. I might be able to get it out. I think I want to take that box out completely and make a new one up. On the plans, the cabane is actually sewn to formers and permanently fixed, whereas this one's got brass tubes that he fits in. Whether that was his or it's an earlier design on the plan, I don't know. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I've also tidied up the seating for the lower wing now. The lower wing fits absolutely perfectly both sides. What I did was I sanded this so it was a little bit rough. I've got the lower wing. I put sellotape on the two areas here, bolted the wing in position. No, I didn't. Before I bolted the wing in position, I put filler along here and along here, put the wing in, bolted it down, and then smoothed the filler in both sides so as it's nicely packed, and left it for 24 hours. The filler I used, by the way, was just lightweight filler from your local builder's merchant. I then removed the wing and it was rock hard, so I've got a nice fit-in wing both sides now. It sits down really nice. And I'm not sure if I showed you on the last video, I've set two tubes into here, so it's a nice tight fit in there. So the bottom wing now fits square and tight, which is a really good, really pleased with that. While I had the filler out, I put a bit of filler on these joints here because they were not very well done. Same with this side. So good progress, good steady progress. As I say, I'm not sure what I'm going to do with the, I've sanded all this flat as well and the bottom. If I cover this with Doculum and then tissue it and then paint it, it shouldn't matter about the green, because the back half has to be white. I might end up painting this green because it's the devil's own to get off. I could try various things to remove it, but you won't get it all off because it's stained the wood really well. But yeah, there we are, good progress.